is different in space. I was an astronaut for 18 years. I flew in space 2 times, 2 missions on the space shuttle. Hygiene in space is very important. You're going to have to do the same sort of things that you do on Earth, like brushing your teeth and keeping yourself clean, using the bathroom. All of these things are very important and very different because you're doing them in space. So they do require some training, and you want to do it correctly, because if you don't, it could lead to trouble. On Earth, we deal with flush toilets. If that's available, hopefully, to you. You do what you need to do, and then you clean yourself up, then it's on to the remainder of your day. But in space, it's different. The flights that I had in space were on the space shuttle. And on the space shuttle, we had a lavatory. It was called the WCS, the Waste Containment System. I think that was primarily because if you had a problem, you didn't want to call Houston, we have a problem, we messed up the toilet. It didn't have a lot of privacy, but it had some. It had a privacy curtain. And the WCS had a hose for urine, for you to urinate into, and a commode, more or less, for you to poop into. And we want to use the word poop? What do we want to? Poop's okay? We're not going to offend anyone around the planet here? Okay. Taking a pee on the space shuttle was pretty quick and easy. The hose came with an attachment that you would put on, which was a funnel. So everyone had their own. We didn't share funnels, and it was in a little compartment, and you'd open up the compartment, and there would be the 7 funnels, and you would take the appropriate one and attach it to the urine collection hose, and then you would turn the system on. What it does is it creates a little airflow so that it'll take the liquid down the hose and into the tank. And when that tank reached a level that it was full, we would do a urine dump out into space. It would kind of crystallize and disappear more or less in the vacuum of space. So it was okay to dump urine out there. If the sun was shining, it would shine through the dumped urine, and you'd see kind of like a rainbow effect, and that was kind of cool. And when you were finished, you would then turn off the system, you would remove your funnel, you would clean it, and you would put it back in its appropriate space. Then you would clean up a little bit. The quickest way to do that was just use a wet wipe. We had hand sanitizer, you could use some of that, because you don't want to spread any germs or anything like that. You want to be very cautious. After you get a little experience, you could do other things like peeing upside down. This was a challenge given to me by a more experienced astronaut who said it is possible to pee upside down. You should try it, and you can. You just flip yourself upside down. You need to be a little more careful. You don't want to do that on day 1. You know, you don't want to hot dog it too much, but it is possible to pee upside down, which is kind of cool. I've done that as well. Peeing on the space station is a little bit different than what we had on the space shuttle. You still pee into a hose, but unlike these individual funnels, it's a big yellow funnel and one size fits all. But on the space station, they recycle the urine. Along with recycling, sweat, and condensation, all that water is collected, and then it is cleaned, and it is treated, and it is reused. So as my friend Don Pettit says, today's coffee is tomorrow's coffee. Pooping in space was very involved because you really didn't want to mess this up.
This is our orbital outhouse right here. I'll show you. But you see it's pretty small, so you have to have pretty good aim.
The key to this, the way it was explained to us, and I agree, the key to this is alignment. Next to our real shuttle toilet in the simulator, we had a practice toilet that was not for defecating. It was made for alignment practice. This is actually one of NASA's deepest, darkest secrets that we're going over here. They had this camera pointing up at you. When you sat on this, you had a closed circuit TV right here. So you would see on the camera whether or not you were aligned with the target area. You would sit on there like you would on maybe on a, like you think you're on a regular toilet, and then you check your alignment like, whoa, I'm nowhere near where I want to be on this. And when you get yourself perfectly aligned, the idea was to then try to memorize what that body position was. So on the front of this thing, there were like little platforms to put your feet underneath, okay, as you're sitting on this thing. But you could still, your butt could still come off the back of it, and that's not good. So in order to keep your butt on the toilet seat, we had these 2 little arms that would press you into the seat. Actually, to help myself get the right position, is I put my arms up like this, like I was riding a chopper. I thought of Peter Fonda in a movie called Easy Rider. That was a good alignment for me. After you take care of your business, we had a couple things to watch out for. We had a mirror that we would be trained to then take from, it was Velcro to the wall. We would take this mirror and then put it behind us. So as we got off the toilet, we saw if anything was following us, if you get what I mean, okay? And if there was something following you, you would sit back down and do whatever you think was necessary to make sure whatever was following you off the seat remained where it was supposed to. You do a little shake if you need to.
And then if things get really out of control, we have disinfectant wipes just to make sure we clean up here. The number one stuff can sort of go all over the place if you don't aim correctly.
The poop remained in the toilet. We landed with all of our poop, and then the toilet was serviced once we got on the ground. And on occasion, people had messed up the procedure and therefore broken the toilet. And that's really bad. If you break the toilet and you can't poop in the toilet on the space shuttle, the backup to that was what we called Apollo bags that had adhesive that you would tape to your butt. That's the way they pooped in Apollo. They did not have a regular toilet to use, and that seemed extremely unpleasant, right? So we did not want to get into the Apollo bags. And so that was kind of like enough to scare you. You would make sure you did the procedure correctly. The thing to remember is you
Welcome to Aviation Runway 24. Meet Rosanna, a certified school teacher in both Argentina and school teacher and the USA. With years of experience in education and amazing teaching techniques, Rosanna will make aviation easy to understand for you. Step by step, she'll guide you to becoming a private pilot with a free course. She teaches in Spanish and covers the essential regulatory basics in English. You'll be able to follow along easily with subtitles and audio. Subscribe for free and start your aviation journey today. #Aviation Runway 24, #Private Pilot, #Learn to Fly.